You've downloaded 7 productivity apps. You follow the Pomodoro technique, time blocking, and eat that frog. And somehow, you're getting less done than before. This isn't your fault. You've run into what psychologists describe as a productivity paradox. As you adopt more systems to increase output, you quietly spend more mental energy managing the systems themselves. The tools designed to help you work better begin competing for your attention before the work even starts. I've analyzed over 20 studies on productivity, self-regulation, and cognitive load published over the past 6 years. A consistent pattern emerges. People who rely on multiple, overlapping productivity systems tend to report higher stress and, over time, complete fewer meaningful tasks than those using simpler approaches. This video breaks the paradox down into 3 parts. First, the cognitive mechanism that turns helpful tools into mental traps. Second, why your brain starts treating productivity hacks like obligations instead of options. Third, the single principle that replaces almost all of them. Let's start with what's actually happening in your brain when you collect productivity advice. Decision fatigue. You already know the term. What most people underestimate is how quickly it compounds. Every productivity system you adopt creates a decision tree. Should this task go into the Eisenhower matrix? Does it count as deep work? Is it a most important task or just urgent? Do I start a Pomodoro now or later? Each decision consumes cognitive resources. Research from Roy Baumeister and others shows that decision-making draws from the same limited pool as self-control and mental endurance. Picture this. It's 9 a.m. You open your task list. First decision, which productivity framework applies to this email? Second decision, does respond to client count as deep work or shallow work? Third decision, should I batch this with other emails or handle it now under the 2-minute rule? You haven't written a single word of the email yet, but you've already made multiple meta-decisions about how to categorize the work of writing it. Now multiply that across 20 tasks. That's dozens of decisions before any real work begins. Studies from Columbia University show that decision fatigue doesn't just slow you down, it degrades decision quality. As decisions accumulate, accuracy and follow-through drop disproportionately. But the problem goes deeper. When you fail to follow a system perfectly, when you skip time blocking, abandon your morning routine, or don't reach inbox 0, you don't just experience task stress, you experience goal-system conflict. Your brain doesn't register, "I didn't do the task." It registers, "I failed at the system that was supposed to make me competent." That creates secondary anxiety. The stress of the work multiplies with the stress of not being productive correctly. Stanford behavior scientist B.J. Fogg describes this as ability anxiety. When a system feels hard to execute, people avoid it entirely, even if it could help them. So you're trapped. You've invested time learning the systems, so abandoning them feels wasteful, but using them generates more stress than working without them. This is the productivity paradox. The tools meant to reduce cognitive load quietly become the cognitive load. Before you delete every productivity app, which would just be another impulsive optimization, here's the important clarification. The solution isn't zero structure, and it's not productivity nihilism. The solution is learning to distinguish between systems that remove decisions and systems that create them. This distinction becomes clear through constraint theory. In The Paradox of Choice, psychologist Barry Schwartz showed that increasing options reliably increases anxiety and decreases satisfaction. Productivity systems are especially vulnerable to this effect. When you have one way to organize tasks, you organize tasks. When you have several competing methods, you spend mental energy choosing how to organize before you organize anything. This is meta work, work about work. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You review your task manager, you adjust priorities, you reorganize tags, you color code projects. You feel productive because you're busy managing productivity, but nothing gets finished. Research by UC Irvine psychologist Gloria Mark shows that knowledge workers spend a significant portion of their day on coordination and system management rather than execution. Over weeks and months, this overhead adds up to dozens of lost workdays per year. Now, at a pattern researchers observe informally but consistently: system accumulation. When one productivity system fails to deliver results, most people don't remove it, they layer another system on top, a second system to fix the first, a third to coordinate the first two. This is like treating insomnia by adding more caffeine. University of Minnesota researcher Sophie Leroy explains why this backfires. Her work on attention residue shows that unfinished commitments, tasks, goals, or systems continue consuming working memory in the background. Every half-used app, abandoned framework, or forgotten method leaves residue. Even when you're not actively using them, they fragment focus. So now you have 7 productivity apps, you use 2 inconsistently, you feel guilty about the other 5, and all of them are competing for mental bandwidth. The promise was clarity and control. The result is overwhelm. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The productivity industry depends on this cycle. New systems are sold by implying your current one isn't sufficient, not because it failed, but because it's outdated. The endless search for the perfect system becomes the problem. So what's the alternative? If piling on systems reduces output and having none creates drift, where's the middle ground? The answer comes from studying consistently high-output people. Not influencers, but writers, researchers, and builders with long track records. They don't rely on stacks of systems. They rely on one principle: external constraint, not internal discipline. Internal discipline relies on willpower, forcing yourself to follow rules, routines, and frameworks. It looks like structure, but it's actually constant decision-making. External constraints remove decisions before they appear. Take Stephen King. He writes roughly 2,000 words every morning. Same time, same location, same expectation. For decades. This isn't a complex system, it's a constraint. There's no daily decision about whether to write, when to write, or how much to write. The environment answers those questions automatically. Cal Newport uses a similar constraint. He limits himself to exactly 3 active projects. When a new opportunity appears, he doesn't debate its value. He asks one question: which project would I drop? If the answer is none, the decision is already made. Constraints collapse decision space. Productivity hacks expand it. This difference matters because of how flow works. Research by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi shows that flow requires clear goals, immediate feedback, and bounded possibilities. When options are unlimited, the brain stays in evaluation mode. When options are constrained, execution begins. You can test this immediately. Pick one task you've been avoiding. Don't decide when you'll do it. Set a timer for 20 minutes and start now. The constraint, 20 minutes, one task, removes every other decision. The work becomes easier because the decision-making disappears. The most productive people don't do more, they decide less. Productivity isn't about managing infinite possibilities more efficiently. It's about eliminating most possibilities entirely. One project at a time, one defined work window, one communication check, one clear outcome. Look at every tool, app, and system you use and ask one question: does this create decisions or does it remove them? If a tool makes you think about how to use it, it's generating decisions. If it makes decisions automatically, it's a constraint. The goal isn't 0 tools, it's minimal decisions. External constraints, not internal discipline. Stop managing infinite possibilities, start executing one constrained reality.
That's the real productivity shift. The hack is refusing the hack.